Good. Okay. I think we can get the party started. Good evening, everyone, except for Gabe. It's almost good morning over there, and we'll have a chat to you shortly. My name's Chris. I'm from Goodwork, and we're hosting this evening's event where we're talking about job management. And I suppose the first question we're going to try and figure out is what is job management? We're going to try and understand how it can help the tradie businesses of Australia. And we've got a couple of experts in the room here. I'm not one of those, but Gabe and Adrian are, and they can tell us a lot about this, and we'll get to them shortly. So just to introduce myself, as I mentioned, Chris, I'm the CEO of Goodwork. Goodwork's a professional networking app for tradies. We've got 33,000 tradies now on board. Basically, it's a place where you can connect to one another, find jobs, and build your businesses through education opportunities. And this is exactly where this webinar fits in. So what we hope to do tonight is tell you a little bit about job management through the experts, because we think it can help you run your businesses better. And if we can help share that with you, we're really happy about that. Okay, so just a couple of housekeeping matters. You should see a little a Q&A box down on the bottom of your screen. If you do have questions as we go, feel free to pop them in. We probably won't get to them until the end of the conversation. But if you could drop them in along the way, that'd be great. We are also going to do a super fast poll now-ish, and I think Suj's on the line. I'm going to set that up for us. The poll is just to get a feel for who we're talking to in terms of size of business. Here's the questions now. So it's asking how many people are in your team. And there's a couple of options there. How long have you been in business? And do you work in sort of construction or new build? Or are you more a maintenance tradie? If you could pop those in, we won't know who said what. It's more just to give us a feel for who we're chatting to so we can shape the conversation accordingly. So I'll give you 10 seconds or so. It's probably asking me to do this too, Suj, but I'm not going to do it. Hopefully you can see that at the back end and it can do its thing. Okay, maybe 5 more seconds. Tick the boxes, hit submit, and hopefully we'll see that shortly, and it will give us a little insight. Okay, well, let's kick off. I'd like to introduce the gents on the call, maybe starting with you, Adrian. You're the founder of a business called TradesFormation. You're also an ex-plumber and ran your own plumbing business, which is obviously super relevant. Oh, there's the answers on the screen now. Terrific. So it looks like we've got a pretty good spread. I'm not sure if you can all see that, but some sole traders, 1 to 3 staff members, 8+. Yeah, okay, great. Years in business, again, a pretty good spread. Nearly half of you are 8 years plus. Well done. And we've got a mix of maintenance and construction. Okay, so that's good. Let's keep it pretty general. Sorry, Adrian, back to you. So now you're a consultant helping trades businesses. I'll let you do a better job than I will of introducing yourself.
Not a worry. Thank you, first of all, Chris. I'd like to just quickly congratulate everyone on the call, because it's busy and it's difficult to get to events like these. So well done to all the viewers for jumping on the call tonight. And I won't waste any more time with giving you props for making it. I'm originally a plumber by trade. I had a business for 10 years called Plumber to the Rescue. I sold it back in 2012. And since about a 2-year contract of sale where I had to stay on board and make sure my clients came across. And from 2014, fully fledged by March of 2015, I was a sales trainer and business coach for tradies. So now we work predominantly with maintenance tradies all around Australia, teaching them. Probably 70% of our clients are sales coaching clients, and the other 30% would be business coaching clients.
Yeah, beautiful. And so probably pretty well placed to talk about software as well and how that can impact your clients' businesses. Absolutely. Great. Okay. Well, Gabe, love to introduce you as well. Gabe's the founder of FieldPulse, which is a job management software business. He's all the way from Texas. We probably won't touch on the election. Gabe feels a bit dicey at the moment, but over to you, mate.
Good. How are you? Yeah, I don't even know what's going on at the moment. I think they're still waiting on some votes. But my name's Gabe. I'm the founder and CEO of FieldPulse. I'm here in Dallas, Texas, and joining here on the Goodwork webinar.
Beautiful. Thank you. And let's keep chatting to you, Gabe. I suppose the first question is, what is job management? So you founded the business. You obviously saw an opportunity to build something for tradies. What's it all about?
Sure. So I would say there's job management as a concept, but then specifically job management software, which is what FieldPulse is. And it's basically an all-in-one software solution to manage your entire business, mostly from end to end. And so job management specifically could be looked at as a portion of it. In the US, it's also referred to as field service software, but that sounds a little enterprising. I'm not sure that's much common Australian language. And I actually prefer job management as a term. But really, you're managing your schedules, your customers, your estimates, invoices, payments, your employees, your timesheets, location tracking, really managing your entire business digitally through software end to end. That gives you a lot of visibility into everything you're doing, a lot of historical tracking, and just much better pulse on your entire business as a whole.
Yeah, great. And in case anyone's wondering, FieldPulse is in Australia now. It launched at the beginning of this year into Australia, and they've had some pretty good traction. And Reese Plumbing Group is also supporting FieldPulse in their rollout. Okay, maybe just even back a step, Adrian. So job management sounds good. Sometimes just going on, getting digital and getting into software is a bit of a barrier. Would you have any thoughts around, why digital is important for trades businesses?
It's a great question, Chris. 2020, well, the 20th century full stop, it's the busiest time in history. We've got 1,000,001 things to worry about and think about. And it's just physically not humanly possible to keep all that stuff in your head or on a diary. It's almost like if you want to be a professional business, it's a ticket to the game. It's almost a mandatory thing. It is daunting though. So my advice in doing so is, how do I break this down in little digestible baby steps especially if you're for a new business into the market? How do I kind of transition from the diary to at least a digital diary, and then a great piece of software like FieldPulse? Is, first of all, I would say try to break it down into little digestible steps again. But how do you navigate? Okay, this is where I start. This is the middle point, and how do I know when I've got to success? And to make sure you always underestimate how long something like this would take. And it's just because it's just a little bit, I guess it's change management in a sense. So it's important to be kind to yourself on the way through when you're learning something new.
And what about from your customer's side, Gabe? So anecdotally, it feels like maybe a third at the most of trades businesses are on a job management software system of sorts. Do you hear any customers saying, I'm so glad I'm now using a digital product?
Yeah, of course. I think the transformational impact is enormous once you're on it. And I would agree there's a lot of customers still not using it. And some people are moving from really pen and paper is what we call it, but is really a fragmented solutions that could be a mix of like Excel and some contacts and text messaging and stuff like that, which is like halfway there. I think you're kind of moving in the right direction. But ultimately you want a system that's interrelated. And I think that's the main value you get out of a solution like FieldPulse or something similar, is that all the different records that you're using for customers, for your jobs, for your estimates and invoices and payments, they're all related to each other, so that when you look at things historically or live, you can see what is coming from where, what invoices came from what customers, for what jobs, what timesheets are clocked into what, and really looking at that holistically as a system. But as you were saying, in terms of how do you get started, some people are ready to jump right in and get their whole business up on everything. But what we can also do is go component by component and say, okay, I want to start with just the customer management portion. And you start by creating your customer profiles in the system and managing that first. And once you get comfortable doing that, maybe you add a second thing, which is job scheduling and using the scheduling portion for your whole team. And once you're comfortable with that, then maybe you add the quotes and invoicing and payments. And you can really pick and choose which parts. Ultimately, the more you get on, the better effect you have because of the interrelated aspects of it. But you can start in pieces as you get comfortable and move forward.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you see anything similar, Adrian, in terms of not necessarily just bits of the job management solution, but but first getting on an accounting software or something like that as a good way of getting into technology?
It talks perfectly to what I said earlier. Gabe and I seem to be on the same page, which is always lovely. Another point I'd like to add to it is, I guess strata maintenance is a sought after market in Australia. And you can't be a diary plumber or electrician or whatever maintenance trade you may be, because job history, and what I mean by job history, photos, where the problem was, what wall was it leaking on, how much damage did it cause, was it owner's responsibility, was it the strata responsibility? That is what sets you apart when you want to win strata work and strata contracts, and that is absolutely impossible to actually have on a discombobulated system of, like Gabe said, of Excel spreadsheets and SMSs. That's just impossible. You need to have it all in one central housing point. So I think that's more of an add-on to the earlier point. But I think that's a massive motivation to move into into digital as quickly as possible if you want to be professional and considered for winning those contracts.
Okay, and obviously everyone on this call is interested in learning more. What's the good time to get onto a job management software? Is it a sole trader, or once you're becoming a larger business? And throw to either of you to comment on that.
Gabe, would you like to go first?
Well, I might be biased, but I mean, we have a ton of sole traders, and I think the idea is whether you plan to grow now or later, or not at all. We have people who just want to manage a lifestyle business of themselves, and I think you get value out of it as well. But let's say you do plan to grow, it's much better to get your systems and process organized now, so that when you are adding people, you're just adding them and training them. You're not getting your whole company, including yourself, on board. And it's great to have everything in place, because just as an individual, it's still important to be able to quickly look up a customer's name in your phone and see all their old invoices, photos, files, notes, comments, their previous jobs, really everything you need at the palm of your hands. So I think even as a sole trader, you find value, but at a minimum, if you plan to grow, it's much better to have that in place prior to employees than trying to fumble and learn it yourself at the same time you're trying to train your team members.
I'd have to agree. Yeah, sorry, Chris, if I can add to that, if it was to be potentially perceived as a painful experience, rip the Band-Aid off and get it in there early rather than wait. Like it is, being a business owner, a plumbing business owner in the past, if you've got 6 or 7 staff, they're used to a system, and then all of a sudden you're changing. That is like, if I had hair, I'd pull it out. It's a nightmare. So I definitely get it done as early as you possibly can. And to be fair, fear of the unknown, it's always about what you don't know. So you're kind of sitting there going, oh, it's going to be hard, it's going to be difficult, but you just don't know how good it's going to be on the other side. So it makes sense to do it as early as possible.
One perceived barrier might be pricing. Gabe, do you want to talk to that? So is it more expensive for a sole trader versus a business getting on it?
Yeah, so I think it probably really depends on the software and how they do their pricing. Most of them will end up being incremental based off your team size. Some will be grouping them into tiers where it's like, okay, for X many users, it's this much, and then this next package. FieldPulse specifically, we are an entry price of a certain amount, and then additional users cost X or Y depending on our role. So it's less expensive for a sole trader, and then as your company grows and you have more usage, the price is higher, so it aligns kind of with your company size.
Yeah, cool. But we're going to take a look in a second at the FieldPulse product, just to visualize what we're actually talking about. Just before we do, Adrian, I'm going to put you on the spot here. If you were meeting a new client and they weren't on many software businesses, would job management be one of the first, and maybe there's 2 that you might recommend them to move on to?
Absolutely. I would definitely go for job management and then accounting package as well. It's just the 2. If you're not in control of your jobs and your money, you're not in business. If you can't tell me in a heartbeat, like, oh, how much did we turn over last month? And it's not a right or a wrong thing, but I would say 90% of tradies in Australia in the first 3 to 5 years or 1 to 5 years are kind of, so I'll bring that back a bit. 1 to 3 years don't have a clue of how much they should be charging, and having that accounting package and that job management just makes it so much easier to go, wow, am I making money or I'm not? It's no longer a feeling, it's a fact. It's based in science.
Yeah, and I echo that too. And it's not just we don't just see a lot of people not knowing how much revenue or turnover they're making in a month, but a lot of contractors don't know how much they're making per job even, and not just in terms of revenue, but in terms of profit. And so often they might not know what types of jobs are actually profitable, and some they might be losing money on and don't know, and they kind of just look at the end of the year, okay, did I come out okay? But you really need to know, okay, is this type of job profitable? If it's not, I need to be charging more. And job management solutions can help that. For example, in FieldPulse specifically, we let you track the costs of your invoices in addition to the price you're charging the customer, to then create a profit margin. So at the end of every invoice, you can see how much money you made and include your employee costs and everything like that. Because it's important to know, and then you need to adjust your prices based off of what you see is profitable and what's not, and maybe end up even not doing certain types of jobs if you find you can't do them profitably. But a lot of companies just don't have that information.
Yeah, great. And of course, it was a trick question there, because you'd also jump on Goodwork to help build your networks. Just kidding, guys. Okay, so we're going to hand over to Jesse, who's from FieldPulse as well, and going to take us on a 2 or 3 minute demo of the product. I'll just remind you that we've got a Q&A box on this webinar tonight. So if you'd like to enter any questions while you're having a look at this or on the back of what you've heard so far, please do so. And we're going to talk to them straight after this demo. Over to you, Jesse.
Yeah, thanks so much, Chris, for having me on the call. So what I'll do is I'll share my screen so that I can show you the mobile version of FieldPulse, and then we can I can show you that and go through some of the most popular features as well. So I'll be showing you the mobile, and the 3 main areas I want to cover today as well would be, 1 is the scheduling, and 2 would be timesheets, and then the invoicing, the quoting side of things. So when it comes to looking at your schedule every day, so for an example, we'll log in, we're in the field, and we need to look at our schedule for the whole day. So to see who's got what, you can see your own schedule, you can look at your team's schedule, and a lot of a list of your jobs as well. Now, let's say, for example, we're on a roof doing a rough-in or something, we're doing putting in some gutters or something like that, and a customer calls us. We can simply put them on loudspeaker and then click this green plus button here. And then once you click the green plus button, you can click the customer. So if it's a new customer, we just click the plus button up in the top right here, and we can create a new customer. Once you've created, what I'm going to do though is just show you what it's like to add a customer that we've already got in here. So for example, we can search for a customer if it's someone existing in the database already. Click on that, and then now we've got the job connected to a customer. We can type a name in here for a job. So for example, rough-in. Or we can also choose from job templates to standardize it across our business from clicking the job title button there. You can place in the location of the job. So when you start typing in the location, it actually comes up with the Google Maps integration there as well, so that you can avoid spelling mistakes. Then here we've got the start and the end date of the job. We can select how long we would like to schedule that job for. It might be for a couple of hours. We can leave any job notes. So these are the internal notes here. This could be for your guys in the field that you're sending the job to, or personal for your, when you get to the job as well. Scrolling down, we have the assigned team members. This will send them the job in a notification so that they can know where to go and what they need to do. And then with the additional fields, they're customizable you can make them whatever you want as well. Now, what I'm going to do is jump into a job that I have already created here. Now, to explain a little bit about this job record, we've got the customer there, Samantha Yule, the job title, which is the rough-in, and then the job statuses. So you can track your, what jobs are doing what and where they are in the process. So new, in progress, pending, completed, or cancelled. We can see the time it's scheduled for, and also the address and the customer. And once again, that's where the notes show up. Now, this is how you create a job and a customer in your schedule. What I'm going to do now is show you what it's like to, say for example, now we get to our new job, right? And we need to clock in. It's as easy as just clicking the big green plus button down here in the right-hand corner, clicking clock in, click save, it'll automatically drop a pin of where you clocked in. And then say, for example, now we've just completed the job, we can clock out as well. And it'll track how long you were at that particular job for. Now, what I'm going to do is show you what it's like to create a quote or an invoice. So we click this green plus button here. It's got a lot of different actions, but we can go to the quote or the invoice. And then here we can see that it's automatically connected to the customer of that and also the job that we were on. I'm going to, instead of going through the estimate, it's really easy to convert an estimate into an invoice by clicking one button. So we can just go to the invoice like so. And then you can put in an invoice date that you invoice the customer and also a due date as well. So you can track if you've got any overdue invoices, which is handy to make sure that everyone's paying you on time. We've also got, you can add in items like labor. Now the price is customizable, or you can have in a price in there as well. You can also insert the quantities. We can also insert bundles of items. So you might have a job that you do a lot and you can insert a bundle of items. Now you can hide the pricing from the customers as well by displaying the pricing for the group only down here in the price visibility section. Then we can click save. We'll put a job title in there. So it could be labor and materials.
So one thing I want to add really quick that is a little bit what Adrian stands for as well here is that if you want to move away from doing labor and materials, time and materials, and want to get to fixed price items, you can still use your material costs and put them into these bundles and groups and hide the individual items from within the groups that you show to the customer while still tracking the individual costs of the items and the prices, and ultimately creating your bundled price with a markup in addition that you're hiding from the customer into one final price for the customer using FieldPulse, which is powerful in running a more profitable business.
Exactly. Thanks for chiming in there, Gabe. Now, once we've added in all our items and we're ready to invoice the customer, we can simply click save up in the top right-hand corner here. And we can save that invoice while you're in the field. Now, over here, we can see our saved invoice. It goes into the draft stage so that if you need to make any final changes, you can. You can always edit it in the top right-hand corner by clicking edit there and make any changes if you need to, if it's a last-minute item. And then once you've done the job and you've invoiced the customer, simply click finalize or prepare and generate PDF to send it to the customer. So now we'll generate this invoice so that we can send it to the customer, and we can get the customer to sign it here and now on the app, or we can email it to the customer, and we can actually request for e-signatures later on, especially for those bigger jobs in the commercial side of things. They might not be signing it straight away. They might want to read that contract. So you can also include a signature request like so. Click send, And that's how you send an invoice to the customer. Once they've paid you, you can actually exit out of here and you can click payment and you can mark it as cash, check, credit card, bank transfer, or other. Click save, and now that invoice has been updated and paid in FieldPulse as well. Now, that's the 3 simple features of FieldPulse that can help, tradies put time back in their day and, get those invoices out quicker as well. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks, Jesse.
Thanks, Jesse. If I can make a comment too, I couldn't comment earlier on the back of Gabe's comment. If there's anything that anyone takes away from today's webinar, is the fact that you really need to understand what it costs to be in business. Guys have been in business for 8 years have well and truly worked that out, but especially for the new guys, people running around at $80, $90 an hour, even $110 an hour, depending on maintenance and construction and so on, are actually running around probably at a loss, but you don't know that because you haven't looked at potential financials. That's why, back to Gabe's point, I love it when everyone moves away from an hourly rate and moves into upfront pricing or quoting for every single job possible. And once you start, and that can be time consuming and there can be obstacles, but a great job management system like FieldPulse can help you bundle up your little common tasks, like the old 80-20 rule. What you do 80% of the time, you put them into those little bundles, and that gives you profit, that gives you freedom, that stops you from end up going to the wall as a bankrupt business, which is not what anyone wants. So please, whatever you do, work out what you need to charge to be in business and then start to put bundles in a piece of software like this.
Yeah, beautiful. Good advice. So we've got, I think, 7 questions here. I'm going to ask us to do our best job of being succinct and hitting the answers on the head. At the back of these questions, we do have a little customer testimonial, which you're welcome to hang around for. It goes for about 4 minutes. It was just me having a chat to a gent named Ian about his experience getting onto job management software recently. So let's punch through these. The first question relates to the accounting software question from earlier, or discussion from earlier. We've got a sole trader asking, do we need an accounting package like Xero or job management, or can you use one and not the other?
Who do you want to answer that?
Go for it, Gabe.
So ultimately, job management solutions like FieldPulse will integrate with Xero. We have customers that don't use an accounting software and just take the FieldPulse invoices and export them at the end of the year for their accounting purposes. But ultimately, there's an integration for the sake of you create your work in the job management solution, and then it will sync over to Xero, matching invoices, payments, customer, stuff like that, for you to do your accounting later on. So it depends on how you want to operate, depends on who does your taxes, what their preference is. But oftentimes people will use both and have them sync, or will just export their invoices from the job management solution at the end of the year and send it to their accountant. It kind of depends.
Great. I've got a couple here that I'll stick with you, Gabe, and then I'll come back to you, Adrian. So there's 2 that are fairly related. If your team's not great with tech, how much of a time investment is it to get onto job management? And I suppose a related question that follows is there much help when you're trying to sign up to get going?
You want me to answer those 2?
Yeah, so you take that one. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say the management and admin portion of the application, which is what the owner, office, and admin managers will be doing, there's a lot more to the application than there is for the field techs. For the field techs, it's actually much more simplified, and a lot of people don't even need help or training. It's kind of self-explanatory for them. For the most part, they're doing very simple tasks in the app. It'll automatically open up to their schedule for the day, and they'll say, okay, you have these jobs at this time. They'll click it, open it, they'll maybe clock in, they'll change the status, they might add comments, attach files, photos, depending on what you want them to do. But their interactions with the application is fairly simple compared to what the manager or admin is doing. So if you look at the full admin suite, it can seem daunting for your field techs to have to learn, but their version is much simplified. And so I'd say on the fast end, some people don't need any help and they just pick it up and know exactly what to do. But otherwise, you can spend some time, maybe 15, 20 minutes showing your field tech how to do the simple tasks. And that should be enough to really get them up and running. And in terms of, can I get help signing up? So specifically with FieldPulse, we think our customer service and support is the best. And we really kind of go above and beyond to make sure you're taken care of. And so, yeah, we'll give you lots of help. We offer free training to get you up and going, and really whatever it takes to get you in it. We invest our time to get you up and running to make sure it's working for you in the long term.
Thanks, Gabe.
Chris, can I add to that? Can I add to that as well? I call it for a bit of BS because tradies, everybody in 2020 is on their phone 5 hours a day. And if they think they're not, go to the little function inside your phone and look at screen time, and you're going through apps, you're learning stuff left, right, and center. I think sometimes people might use it that I'm not good with tech. Could be a story that you just believe you're not, but don't realize you are. So I would be getting the guys that are saying they're not good at tech, ask them to open up the settings and look at how much screen time they've got on their mobile phone. And they go, well, you're doing 5 hours a day of tech. You do know how to use it. So yeah, I'd be a little bit tough love.
No, that's a fair call. While we're with you, Adrian.
So just,
go.
What we have found when there's like a stubbornness on the tech side to not use it is because they don't like the extra accountability that the owner and manager has when they're using a job management solution. And that's where the real pushback is. It's not on the difficulty of learning. It's they don't like the fact that, wow, you can now see when I get to the job, you can see when I clocked in, was I actually there when I clocked in? And these are things you might not have known before, but there's not an easy way to spoof it when you're using the application. And so that's usually the only time we hear people say, oh, the techs wouldn't use it because it was too difficult. It's like, no, they were intentionally not trying to use it.
I agree on that.
Okay, thank you. We'll try and just get to a couple more. There's a question in here about, which app do you choose from? There's a lot of options. Maybe if we can try and keep it specific to job management software, Adrian, do you have any tips on what to look for? And if you want to go broader than job management, go for it.
Absolutely. First of all, try it out. That's you've got to see if you like it for yourself. And second of all, support. If you can't get them on the phone, if you can't or communicate them through a live chat, then that goes for all pieces of software, job management or otherwise, because it could be just such a simple little click here or something like that. But when you get that support, that helps.
Yep, fantastic. So a couple of probably more specific to FieldPulse by the looks of it, on the back of the demo there, Gabe. So one is, can you upload, download photos, then edit, for example? How well can you manipulate what you're doing in there?
So yeah, you can attach and then download your photos. In terms of the manipulation, that you'll need to do third party, I guess, either on your computer or your phone. But in terms of storing it and making it accessible for your team, that's what it's all about. So if you want to put plans and dimensions and attach them to the job, your team will be able to easily open it up from the job record and see what you've attached there. I think that answers what he was
beautiful. Thank you. And quick one, can you link the bank account to your job management solution?
No. So no, you cannot. So I think you can with Xero in terms of seeing the accounting parts of it, but at least with FieldPulse, we don't link with your bank account.
Thank you. The last question here that I can see, with all the information kept in the system, are the data storage solutions included? Is that a part of the pricing?
Definitely. Yeah, and we actually just ramped up our allowed storage from it was specific to photos. I think we previously had a 5 megabyte per image or per file limit on jobs, and we just increased that to 100 because people wanted to start including videos and stuff like that. So now people can actually take videos and attach them to jobs, and all the storage and everything is included in the price, and no extras.
Fantastic. I think, yeah, with the way the AWSs of the world are working now, that storage is becoming a little bit of a less of a burden for the software companies. Okay, well, look, maybe we close towards the testimonial there. If we've missed any questions, we'll have a record of these and we can come back to you. I'll just, yeah, let's go to each of you to say any farewells that you'd like to. But Adrian, firstly, thanks so much for your input and your time this evening.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thanks for having us, and yeah, looking forward to seeing if we can help anyone in the future on another webinar.
Thank you, Adrian, and Gabe. Cheers to you, mate. Especially, what time is it over there? One something, I think.
2 something, but it's okay. Sometimes I'm up this late anyway. But no, thanks for having me on. I hope I was able to speak more generally about job management software and wasn't too much promoting my own. I think whether it's FieldPulse or something else, I think the value is tremendous you get from moving onto a solution that's digital. And I highly recommend at least taking steps to at least go portion by portion if you don't want to jump in all at once. And I think each segment you'll see really great improvements for your business. And then when you tie it all together, it just adds on even more.
Beautifully done. Thank you, gentlemen. We're going to push play on this testimonial. It was a plumber named Ian Rickwood from Rickwood Plumbing and Gas in Perth. He jumped on a job management software this year. Feel free to stick around and hear what he had to say, and we will send you these recordings afterwards if you'd like to have another listen. Thank you, everyone.
Cheers.
Thanks.
We're here obviously today to learn a bit about job management. I understand you weren't using a job management software recently. Is that right?
Yeah. I only just started doing it in the last couple of months or so.
If we could hear about your typical day, what does it look like? And maybe this is the chance. What did it look like before? What does it look like now?
So before, the night before, I'd have to sit down, fill out all the job cards, write it all out by hand. And then, the next morning I'd have to come to have a toolbox meeting with the boys, go through every single job with them, the times be written on there, and hopefully, they'd see that. And then, just go through it all. And then I'd have to come in the morning also and muck around and get all the gear. And, that took up, an hour of my morning, and, hopefully all the boys would understand it. And then they'd have to call me if anything's wrong or anything like that. And then after job management, I was still doing that stuff at night, but it was a lot easier to put it all in, a lot neater. Didn't have the guys ringing up asking what I write or what the address was. And then, I was organised that before, and just, a lot smoother. I wasn't having to come in the mornings. I could actually, stay at home and do the invoicing stuff, rather than come in the mornings and kind of babying them and, tell them exactly what they're doing. They just knew.
And then you're relatively new to it. How long did it take before it was useful? Like, was it a pain in the bum for a little while, or did it get going pretty quickly?
Within a couple of days. Noticed like straight away. Just helped me out. I was, really scared about trying it. But within a couple of days, I've never looked back, just for the fact of, just the neatness of it, especially the boys like writing down stuff and me invoicing stuff later on at night or the next day. I'd have to ring them up sometimes trying to understand what they've written and, get an idea of it. Just the neatness of having it on a computer and just being able to read it straight out, and even just, copy and pasting like straight from what they've written to just onto the invoice. Just so much quicker for me.
And one thing you mentioned, you're a bit nervous to start. Why was that? Because it's probably something in common with other people who aren't on job management software yet.
Well, the problem was I just didn't think, the time to sit on the computer, type it out, that sort of thing. That's what I was a bit worried. Because I'm always rushed for time, I just thought writing it on a job card from my book would be a lot quicker than typing it on the computer. But really, it wasn't. And I even asked a lot of other tradies because I was getting fully stressed out because I was getting that busy. And I was asking these other traders are saying, I've got this job management stuff. You know, if you try it. And I was just thinking, like, no, mate, like, tell me something else. Like, I don't think it's helping me at all. Like, I can write down a job card really quick. But the time it saved me, like, just typing on the computer, putting the exact address in, the boys can, you know, click on the address, navigate to the job, rather than having to type in their Google Maps and maybe entering, you know, if I haven't spelt it right, they've got to try and find the job and that sort of thing.
Beautiful. Sounds like you're a fan, Ian. Any tips for people who haven't got onto it yet?
I think you just need to take the chance. I mean, it may not work for everybody. You do get a free trial. So you don't have to be like tech savvy to use it. You know, you can always just, you know, there's an app and stuff there, and it's that simple. It's just a matter of, you know, you got your dashboard, you're clicking on a schedule, it's got all the dates on there. You can plan jobs ahead of time so people know what it's doing. You're a lot more organised rather than having a job card sitting there, you may lose it, or you're having to do it the day before. At least everyone knows what's going on weeks ahead. And then, it's just saved me so much time. I mean, you think about the cost of it, but the cost of it doesn't even come into using it. Yeah. The one I use, FieldPulse, as well, is because of the other ones, they charge you per job, when FieldPulse only charges you per user. So that just, I did look at the other ones, and that's why I was a bit worried about using them, because it was going to be $200 upwards rather than getting charged per user. Saved me a lot of money. That's why I went with using FieldPulse rather than the other ones at the start.
Makes sense. You don't want to be reluctant to take more work on, I suppose.
No, exactly right. To try and cover it, but the time it saves you. And I just I was sitting at night all the time doing these job cards and stuff, and being able to, I'd have to do that every day before the job, because I wouldn't want to write job cards earlier, or you'd lose them, or something else to change. Being able just to do it all ahead of time. I was just saving myself heaps of time. I was actually hanging out with my family after 5 o'clock rather than sitting behind the computer till like 9 o'clock, and just chilling around.
Awesome. Well, I reckon that's us, mate. Thanks so much for your time and for your insights on it. I really appreciate it.
Yep, that's no worries at all. Thanks for that.